Lingao. And here's a quick rundown of some stories on One News. President Bongbong Marcos says they are still figuring out the best way to amend the 1987 Constitution that both chambers will agree on. He says the consultation with legal luminaries about the matter is still ongoing.
The country's full-year economic growth fell in 2023 below the government target of 6 to 7%. So it's 5.6%, Bok. This comes as the Philippines posted a 5.6% growth in the fourth quarter of last year. The Philippines has signed a 5-year rice trade agreement with Vietnam. Under the deal, Vietnam will supply through its private sector 1.5 to 2 million metric tons of white rice per year to the Philippine private sector at a, quote, competitive and affordable price until 2028. The president was in Hanoi for a state visit. So that's the biggest take-home from that state visit to Hanoi.
May take-home siya na bigas.
Yeah, take-home na bigas. Only rice for the next 5 years. Okay. Again, we need to say that Vietnam is our biggest supplier of imported rice. And imported rice makes up 20% of the local demand. Around 20%, roughly.
I was telling you yesterday about the Philippines having a hand in the South Vietnamese Constitution.
Yes, yes.
That was the year 1955. Edward Lansdale brought in Philippine constitutional scholar Juan Orendain
Okay.
to South Vietnam to put together the Constitution. No? Doon lang if...
And we all know what happened to the Constitution.
and to the country.
I think it was rendered academic by
the fall of Vietnam in April 1975.
the unification.
Okay. So, you want to take a look at some of the headlines? Or do we bring in already our reporter from...
While we're waiting for the reporter,
wala
let's
pang
look at
reporter.
the headlines on...
Philippine Star. Philippine Star. Philippines posts 5.6% GDP growth in 2023, misses government's target. Drilling down.
I think the target for this year is anywhere from 6.5 to 7.5%. Okay.
GDP growth for 2023 beneath the 7.6% recorded in the year 2022. The fourth quarter GDP growth was 5.6, lower than the 7.1 recorded in the same quarter of the previous year. Okay.
I think the biggest problem the economy saw this year or last year was related to inflation.
Yeah, well,
Inflation.
parati naman. Well, bigas tsaka gasolina.
Salina.
Lalo ngayon, 3 piso yung tinaas this week. Pero siyempre, hindi pa factor din yun. Okay? So that's Philippine Star. Among other stories from the Philippine Star, we're looking at Pirma head says congressmen help in the signature drive. Marcos insists the unity team remains intact despite the world war with former President Duterte. And New Year, New Love, Catherine Bernardo and Jericho Rosales.
Question mark po. Don't forget the question mark.
New Year, New Love?
Nag-jogging lang sila magkasabay. Medyo, inintriga na sila na.
Hindi kami na-intriga. Siguro si Mian Los Baños may pagkanan. Kasama natin ngayon si Mian Los Baños mula sa Senado. Mian, anong balita dyan?
Pink na pink ang iyong mic. Pink ba yan? Mian o
Hi,
pula?
Bok.
Pula,
Hi,
pula.
Sir P.
From where we're sitting, Mian, your microphone.
Magandang po sa inyo, Bok, and Sir Patrick.
Yes, Mian. Mian, natuloy ba yung hearing kanina? Or was it a press conference?
Press conference sa yung Sir Patrick, tuloy kayo 11 a.m. ni Senator Amy Marcos. At doon, matapos yung ilang araw nilang palitan ng maahangang na salita ng kanyang pinsan, si Speaker Martin Romualdez, sinabi ni Senator Amy na hindi siya galit kay Speaker Romualdez at sabi niya hindi rin daw siya palaaway. Pero talaga daw hindi siya papayag na nasisira ang Administrasyong Marcos, partikular daw yung kanilang apelido na nahirapan silang i-resurrect after more than 3 decades dahil lang daw sa issue ng People's Initiative. At nung tanungin nga siya tungkol sa unity team, sinabi niya na mukhang talagang may lamat na, may crack na itong unity team. Pero ang sinasabi ni Senator Amy Marcos, problema sa principals. Mga head, for example, VP Sara Duterte at si Bongbong Marcos. Ang sinasabi lang na pinanggugulot daw ay yung mga amuyong, ahas at demonyo sa laylayan ng palasyo. At again, wala siyang pinangalanan dyan. Bok and Sir Patrick.
Ang napapansin ko, yung pulang salamin. Kakulay ng microphone. Microphone.
Sir,
Oo, kakulay ng microphone mo, Mayan. Oho.
Yung ano,
Natawa,
Akalin, sir.
natawa tuloy.
So, Mayan, lamat pa lamang. So, meron pang unity team. Kasi yun ang sinasabi ng ating presidente from Vietnam.
Yes. Sabi ni Senator Amy, alam mo naman si Senator Amy, Sir P, diba? Talaga namang supporter ni VP Sara yan. Para sa kanya, matatag yung liderato ng unity team. Particularly, sabi niya, yung kanyang kapatid, si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos and si VP Sara. Sabi niya, pero aminado siya, may crack. Sabi niya, may lakat na talaga yung team after what happened in the last weekend lang, yung patutsadahan ng magkabilang kampo hanggang kay Pangulong Duterte, na dating Pangulong Duterte, na ama ni VP Sara, na talagang all out yung kanyang pagsasalita laban kay PBBM. Sabi ni Senator Amy, hindi na maikakaila. May lamat na talaga yung unity team. Pero sabi niya, meron siyang pinasasaringan na nanggugulo na nasa laylayan daw ng palasyo na tinawag pa nga niyang ahas, demonyo at ano pa yung sabi niyang isa, amuyong. Yun ang sinasabi niya.
Bok, nasisilip mo ba, ispatan mo kung sino pinagkakagulan doon sa likod mo? Na-intriga kami. Nagkakagulo doon sa likod eh.
Yan. Oho.
Si Senator
We seem to be having problems with the audio coming from the Senate. Oo. Yes. Phone patch na lang, ano.
Mayan, sige. Ispatan mo muna yung nangyari dyan sa likod mo. We'll call you na lang over the phone kasi nag-choppy rin yung signal mo eh.
Yes.
Okay. So lamat lamang.
Lamat lamang. Meron pa, not over.
Pero, well, napakamakulay naman.
well, strictly speaking, Bok, we should not count the former president Rodrigo Duterte as part of unity team because he was not really part of it. In fact, you could say that he was against the team up. He was against her daughter teaming up with BBM in the 2022 campaign. So, kung may lamat doon, it doesn't follow that it's a crack that extends to unity.
Yeah.
Not to say that all's well, no. Not to say that all's well in unity.
In fact, it's true that si Digong, Tatay Dutz naman, never endorsed BBM.
Yeah, he did not.
He only went as far as endorsing, of course, the daughter.
The daughter, yes.
Pero he was completely silent about BBM. Hindi nga completely silent.
Well, not completely silent. In fact,
nga siya ng October 2021.
Yeah, remember, Bok, that allegation of drug use, he dropped that bomb first during the campaign.
Yeah, that was October 2021.
And why do that if not to hurt the campaign of BBM in 2022? So there's no love lost.
Tsaka masama ang loob niya na si Sara agreed to step aside and let BBM run for the presidency when the president thought that it was Sara who could have bagged the presidency.
Yes, that's what he wanted.
So, may ganung hugot.
Pero parang hindi ata type ni Sara yung tinatambal sa kanyang ano eh.
Yeah, parang iba pang kwento yun.
So parang this is an attempt at fixed marriage, which the daughter
Arranged marriage.
arranged marriage, which the daughter did not approve of.
So yung anak tuloy
Tanan. Nagtanan.
Hindi niya type
Diba,
yung
tinanan?
Hindi niya type yung
Tinanan. So kung if you put it in that way, no, medyo may understandable na magalit yung tatay.
was putting it mildly.
Diba? Understandable magalit yung tatay. So, unity team, there are cracks, but it's still okay according to the presidential sister. And we're hearing the same statement from the president himself. He gave that statement in Vietnam, where he held a press conference with Filipino reporters who accompanied him there. Okay, I think Mayan is back.
Mayan.
Mayan?
Hi, sir.
Kamusta ka dyan?
I'm back. Ayun. Hindi, sir, nakalimutan ko kayong sabihan kayo na i-update sa inyo na yun nga, bagamat may mga panawagan kasi kahapon galing sa Kamara na itigil na yung pagdinig ng Senado kaugnay sa People's Initiative. Anyway, sabi nila, malinaw naman na yung sinabi ng COMELEC, natigil na sila sa pagtanggap ng mga lagda. Pero sabi ni Senator Amy, hindi siya titigil sa hearing. In fact, mangyayari na yung sinabi ko sa inyo the other day. Itutuloy talaga sa Davao City this coming Friday. Yung hearing tungkol pa rin doon sa tukulan sa PI at umaasa raw sila, maraming testigo yung haharap dun sa hearing sa Davao City. And then, another movement dito sa Senado ay tuloy na yung charter change. Dahil kanina nakausap natin sa Senate President Zubiri, sabi niya, ngayong araw na ito gagawin, bubuuin yung subcommittee headed by Senator Angara, and then next week start na sila sa hearing ng resolution para dun sa economic provisions na balak amyendahan sa ating konstitusyon.
Yung Reso number 6, in particular, yung resolution that deals with other economic provisions except land ownership.
Yes, tama ka doon.
Except yung land ownership. Okay.
Oh, but
Tatlo yan eh.
But do the senators still feel, Mayan, once you open the Constitution, there's no limits to what you can do with it? But that's the conventional wisdom that we've been hearing, even from senators in the past. So,
Yes.
ano masasabi nila? Na yung mga limitations na yan, baliwala yan.
May ganon talaga silang pangamba. Pero, ito, kwento na lang ito ng isang senador sa atin, hindi na to on-cam. Ang nangyayari kasi ngayon is damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Okay.
Pag hindi nila tinuloy kasi yung charter change dito, Sir P, may ilan daw nagsasabing mga senador na mabubutasan sila ng Kamara. Sasabihan sila na, tutuloy namin yung People's Initiative, wala naman pala kayong tsa-tsa. So parang ang sinasabi daw ng ibang senador, ituloy na lang natin tong charter change sa level natin, at least ito, kontrolado natin na economic provisions lang. So mukhang yun yung nanaig. Kaya matagal nilang pinag-usapan, mahigit isang linggo after the filing resolution. Ngayon lang talaga nagsalita si Senator Mig, si SP Migs na tuloy na yung subcommittee and next week na yung hearing.
Bok, tanong ka lang kasi di ba, remember that the Constitution is silent on whether it's jointing or separately voting. But in the past, I understand that there have been some resolutions by both chambers to the effect that it should be voting separately. Pero sa puntong ito ba sa kongresong ito, meron silang pinanghahawakan na patakaran, whether it's the rules of the Senate, rules of the House, kung saan kung magkokon-as sila, it will be voting separately. Kasi that was unresolved eh.
Yes. Ang pinanghahawakan nila dyan ay yung mga legal luminaries na so far ay tingin nila malinaw na kumakatig sa kanila at sinasabing voting separately talaga. So silent na yung Constitution on that. Pero confident sila, once mag-con-as sila, for sure naman, invite ulit nila itong mga constitutional experts nito. At na-test the waters na nila yan kahapon. Kasi nag-start na sila mag-invite kahapon, di ba? At pare-parehas ang sinasabi na voting separately talaga po.
Pero kasi baka in the end, di ba, that will take a resolution of both chambers eh. Di ba?
Yes.
In the resolution, could it or should it state whether a CONAS would be voting separately? I mean, could it possibly be stuck in there? Kasi in the end, it will be a question of procedure. I know we don't want to go into procedures, pero it's a fundamental procedural problem.
Tama ka. Kasi kahit may lusot nila dito, kunwari yung buong agenda doon sa tatlong economic provisions na yan, once mag-open sila, mag-convene sila with the Kamara, for sure, kailangan muna nilang unahin na ayusin yung procedure sa, wait lang, bago tayo mag-convene, voting separately, baka biglang mag-voting jointly tayo dito. So, tama ka dyan. Kasi naalala ko nung time na SP pa si Senate President Soto, yan din yung sinasabi niya, kaya hindi makausad-usad. Kasi nga, procedure-wise, kailangan talagang ma-resolve yan eh. Na sila
baka mabraso, di ba, Mayan?
Yes, sir.
Baka mabraso. Kasi, Bok, you have to remember, pag Constitutional Assembly yan, you're seeing 250 plus congressmen in the same room, 315 with 24 senators. Diba?
So 340. Tapos kailangan mo lang 3/4 vote.
So the senators, do they realize... So, man, I wonder if the senators realize in the very sticky position they're in.
Yes, they do. Kaya nga
But-
lang, sir, ang problema nga kasi dito, meron ng inisyatibo sa House at nanganganib sila dito sa Senado. Kaya at some point, pwede mong sabihin na medyo parang naho-hostage din talaga na no, kasi kung to begin with, ayaw naman nila ng charter change kasi nga procedure-wise, di ba? Delikado sila dyan. Pero talagang wala silang magawa kundi, o sige, i-go natin to or else sasabihin ng House, tutuloy namin yung PI kasi wala naman kayong chacha dyan sa taas eh.
Aha.
So,
Either maging
charter
meron
change
ka
sila.
lang, di ba? Either maging meron ka lang o okay, makisalik at makipagmakbakan.
Yes, and alam natin may ilang mga senador na syempre hindi na natin papangalanan na sinasabi talaga yon na nanlalaban na hanggang sa ngayon ayaw sana nila nung ibang senador ng charter change. Kasi ang sinasabi nila, di para talaga tayong nadiktahan dyan. Para talaga nating inaming na hostage tayo ayaw natin yan to begin with. Pero andyan na siya So, sisiguraduhin na lang nila dito na talagang economic provisions lang yung babaguhin nila. But again, I get your point. Pag nag-convince sila as CONAS, ibang usapan ulit yun. Kasi may maraming pwedeng buksan doon.
Alam mo, may sa mga ganyan sitwasyon, that's where the wisdom and experience of more senior senators are really important. By the way,
Yes.
man, maraming salamat kasi after you, may kakausapin tayo ba?
Nakita na natin
Senior and experienced senator. Okay,
Ang
who
dami.
happens to be,
also former Justice Secretary,
yes,
also
yes,
former
oh.
Executive Secretary.
so yeah.
Napasok natin.
Is he ready na?
Yeah, I saw him a while ago yan.
Ayan, oo.
Hi sir, magandang hapon. We are now joined by former Senate President Franklin Drilon. Sir, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, magandang hapon po, Patrick. And magandang hapon. Alam mo, mabuti pag mayroong mayroong conflict sa Constitution, natatawagan niyo ako. Otherwise, hindi niyo ako pinapansin.
Ayun, may hugot si sir.
Senator, siguro
Oh, yes,
gigil
sir.
na gigil na
Good
kayo.
afternoon po.
Gigil na gigil kayo to weigh in on what's happening.
Well, wala. Kasama lahat yan sa buhay natin. Alam mo, itong... okay, I will tell you bakit nangyayari ito. At noon 10, 15 years ago, alam niyo po, sa 1937 Constitution, ang sinasabi doon, pwede nating amendahan, we can amend the Constitution by two ways, either through a Constitutional Convention or a Constituent Assembly. And in the Constituent Assembly, ang nakalagay sa 1937 Constitution, through Congress in a Constituent Assembly, in joint session assembled. There is a phrase there which says, in joint session assembled. In the 1987 Constitution, I do not know, deliberately or by accident, nakalimutan nilang ibalik yung phrase, in joint session assembled. Kaya nagkakagulo ngayon because without that, listen, and ang isang position is, we vote separately. At kaya noon pa, about 2011, I first broached the idea of a bicameral Constituent Assembly. I underscore it. Bicameral Constituent Assembly, hiwalay, magbumoto at magdebate ang magkabilang kapulungan, they debate separately, and follow the procedure we have in passing laws, except that the voting will be 3/4 and 2/3, depending on the issue on the floor. So, unfortunately, this will end up in the Supreme Court now. So what did the House do? So smart. They said, okay, the amendment that we will propose is that the Constitution, the manner of amending the Constitution is hereby amended so that both houses must vote jointly. That is not provided in the Constitution. So, as expected, the Senate objected because they will become irrelevant, and that is the bottom line of this. In other words, the Senate is arguing that we are in a bicameral system. You cannot ignore us by having a constituent assembly with a joint voting because our vote becomes immaterial. And the Senate says, kung yung pangalan ng kalsada, kailangan ang boto ng Senado, paano pa kung yung saligang batas ang ating papalitan? Bakit hindi kami kasali? So that is the root cause of this problem, and ultimately it will reach the Supreme Court. But let me say, however, that the process being followed by both chambers are consistent with the Constitution. A constituent assembly where both ang pagkilakaiba, what they differ in is the manner of voting, and the House proceeding on a firma or a signature campaign, again, that is allowed under the Constitution. So at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will decide this.
Sir, if I may, sir, when you refer to the 1935 Constitution, yung two methods of amending the Constitution, CONCOM and CONAS, and secondly, sir, when it says na yung Constitutional Assembly on Constituent Assembly is in joint session assembled, what does that imply? Does that imply joint voting in the old Constitution pa? And therefore, should that be carried on for example, in the interpretation of this Constitution?
Well, okay, in this Constitution, in the 1987 Constitution, when there is voting jointly, it is clearly specified, like extension of martial law, declared martial law, it is by joint voting. We have gone through that in the past Congress when martial law was declared in Mindanao, and an extension was decreed by President Duterte, and therefore we voted jointly. I voted no, but my vote was not material. Now that is why the phrase "in joint session assembled," which was in the old Constitution, 1936 Constitution, is no longer found here in the 1987 Constitution. That is why there is confusion that has arisen, because the debate is whether or not we vote separately or jointly.
Pero sir, in that Constitution, yung 1930s Constitution, do I understand it correctly, sir, that yung Constituent Assembly, because of that particular phrase, they were supposed to be voting jointly, at least in that Constitution?
I could not cite a precedent, but that could be an interpretation.
It was never,
the phrase in joint session assembled. In fact, today, the Senate is arguing we do not have even to convene jointly. And that is the position I took in 2011. We do not have to convene as one body. We just convene separately and pass the proposed amendments separately.
Okay. If I may, Senator, no?
Yes, Patrick.
When the Constitution said Constituent Assembly, doesn't it imply that it's one body?
No. It doesn't. When you say Constituent Assembly, it only means that Congress will perform the function of a constituents of its constituents, that is amending the basic law. When they enact ordinary laws, they are performing the powers of a legislative body. But when they amend the Constitution, they're performing the functions of a constituent assembly.
Okay. Cambio ko?
Cambio ko.
Sir, if I may, sir, kasi there have been several issues that cropped up in the last 24 hours. Can you ask your legal opinion on something? I'm sure you've heard about former President Duterte last night in his press con. Nabanggit niya they're campaigning for basically secession. Mindanao Republic.
Let's use his words. Mindanao Republic. An independent Mindanao Republic.
In fact, pagugulungin na niya si Congressman Alvarez para mangolekta ng signatures, and they will present a petition of some sort before the UN. Basic questions, sir. Basic legal questions. Number one,
Does the Constitution, does our Constitution
ba yun?
allow that?
And number two, is it legal? Or are there any liabilities there?
I am not prepared to answer those questions. Those are not simple legal questions. You need some review of the laws and the pertinent laws. Some can argue that this is almost sedition. That this is sedition because when you attempt or when you remove any part of the country from the powers of the central government, you are actually asking for a division or dissolution even of the Philippines, and therefore that is sedition. But that's an argument as against that is the freedom of speech, and so it's a very difficult question. I think, to be fair, I don't want to express an opinion.
So, Senator, is it also correct to say that a breakaway, let's call it, the creation of an independent, let's say, state somewhere, would only be made possible within a federal system if the basic law, if the basic system of government is a federal system?
That is not correct, Patrick. Separating Mindanao from Luzon and Visayas is beyond federalism, because you're creating a new state. Whereas in a federal system, you just have one state with a different form of government. A parliamentary system was distinguished from a presidential system. But saying na, hiwalay kami, aba, pagpunta ni Ed sa Mindanao, kailangan may visa na siya.
Sir, sige, sir. Let me rephrase that question, sir. Is it correct to say na breaking away any part of any country is already beyond
What is allowed?
beyond what is allowed or beyond the scope of a country's internal laws?
Ed, in that question, anything is possible.
Oh, yeah, still.
If they put up if they split by force, it's a political question. If they get recognized by some country as a separate nation, so how you arrive at that is very political. Look at Taipei and China.
China.
Yes, that's a very classic example. Taiwan was part of China before the 1949 revolution. Naghiwalay sila. So up to now, there is a conflict in interpretation because China claims that is part of their territory. So that not only involves an amendment of the Constitution, it's a political issue. And it's beyond constitutional amendments.
But sir, parang it's also an international issue, tama ba? Kasi for example, when East Timor tried to gain independence in 1999, they had to have a referendum administered by the UN. So the UN stepped in. Also, may sasabi si Digong kagabi na they will need to petition the UN, submit a petition to the UN for a referendum to be held. May ganun-ganun eh.
Alam mo, we can talk about more substantive issues rather than that foolishness of having a signature drive to go to the UN. And the UN will not, is not empowered and has no power to act on that petition. Because the UN does not even have, the UN will accept already a de facto or a nation that is really formed and by a vote of all the members. A signature drive to secede from the republic, the UN has no authority to act on that, and it's you can be left out of this world if you do that.
Well, let me ask you na lang, sir, a political question. I mean, this is not the first time this has cropped up. We've had, to begin, dati Muslim independence movement and then it revolved into the Mindanao independence movement ni Ruben Canoy.
For which she was arrested, by the way.
may mga ganun. Sir, mas mahaba ang memory niyo sa mga bagay-bagay na yan.
What's the question, Patrick? Is there a question, Ed?
Oh, Ed.
Well, I'm trying to reach back into history kasi it's actually it's a little difficult to get more details from that far back. Eh. Pero would you have any recollection of that attempt in the 1970s and 1980s to form a Mindanao independence movement by among other people, Ruben Canoy and Alexander Noble?
There was a mutiny.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was during your time as executive secretary.
No. Before that, it was before that.
Okay.
When just immediately after the 1986 revolution, in one of those episodes, Ruben Canoy and a few others
Colonel Noble.
threatened to secede, or I can't remember anymore what exactly happened. But yes, he tried to secede from the central government.
But were there repercussions then, whether political or legal, or
He was charged. He was charged with some with sedition. I can't remember what, but yes, there was that attempt. Born out of the political instability at that time.
Okay. Senator, I sense a certain reluctance on your part to discuss this issue about an independent Mindanao Republic.
I find it, for example, Ed, Patrick, to put in the debate whether or not a signature drive submitted to the UN is an effective way of seceding. That doesn't bring us anywhere. You ask any political scientist, and they will just smile and say, "Let's have another topic."
But it's a different kind of people's initiative.
Fighting signature with signature, maybe. That's the idea, Senator. Well, any question?
Sir, teka, ayoko pabitaw sana si Senator. Sir, balik ako dun sa Senado. Actually, hindi lang sa Senado eh. Balik ako dun sa the developments in the past 2 weeks. Let me ask you this as a political old-timer, somebody who's held a very, very the most senior position in the Senate, among other things, and the executive as well. We've had two leaders, former and current, nagbabangayan. What's the impact on us? Whether it's public confidence with regard to the political leadership or business confidence on the economy?
Nothing. In the private sector, in the board meetings that I attend, this is not even discussed. This is not. We all know that these are all politics. At a certain point, I don't think that we go back to normal and live our lives. Ang dami natin problema ngayon, ha? Ang dami nagugutom. Ang daming ang ating education system is in shambles, So, and to keep on talking about whether or not our presidents are drug addicts or not, to me, I don't think that I should waste my time trying to figure out what will happen next, because there are so many more serious problems than listening to this bangayan between our two leaders. It will not bring the nation anywhere, and I don't think it will bring us anywhere to keep on talking about this subject. We talk probably in my case, I would rather
Senator,
figure out how to make our lives better.
Okay, Senator, from where you sit right now, which is the private sector, you sit in the boards of certain companies, I understand. What do you think should be let's make it the single most important thing that the private sector community or the business community would like to see happen?
I'm sorry, Patrick, I didn't get you.
From where you sit right now, which is the private sector, what do you think does the business community, what do they want to see happen? The single most important thing that they want to see happen in this country, in government?
They want to see a government that is concentrated on one issue, how to alleviate the poverty that the people that we see today in our midst.
Is there a low-hanging fruit, Senator,
Lack
that
of education. Education is in
Education.
shambles. Our health system is all is kaput. And so, ang dami pong problema. Ito pong usapin sa ligang batas, natural po yan. It will come out regularly. But we should not be distracted by such kind of talk, especially ang bangayan ng Duterte at saka Marcos tungkol sa kung sino ang nagsasabu, nagko-cocaine, sino nag-fentanyl. To me, that will not bring us anywhere. I bet you, Patrick, 2 months from now, we are in your program, and iba na pag-uusapan natin. Hindi na po yung mga what the topics today. It makes good copy. I can good copy, but it will not bring our country anywhere.
Senator, is there a low-hanging fruit that this government can do that will send strong signals and create more confidence in the business community?
Well, I would like to see concrete measures done which will provide a basis for more investment. That's why when I was in the Senate, I kept on working on laws that would liberalize our investment climate, because let's face it, in the world today, in the technology development that we have, the world is getting smaller and smaller. Hindi, you cannot be an island anymore. You have to work with other countries. But that is what I would like to see.
Yes, sir. But in liberalizing the economy further, would that require an amendment to the Constitution, or can it be done in the same way that was done 2 years ago through simple laws?
I did that, but to a very limited extent. But there are certain areas which the nationality requirement before may be valid, but today, just as an example, Ed, media. In media, the 1987 Constitution says no foreign equity. At that time, why? Because the theory was we do not want foreign media influence in the bedrooms of our people. But today, you and I know that equity is all over. Foreign media infiltrates extensively our day-to-day life, and that is a reality which we must accept. Now, education. We must look at it and analyze whether or not the exclusion of any foreign participation is one of the causes for the deterioration of our educational system, or the lack of opportunity from our students to avail of the superior teaching methods in other countries. Look, the phenomenon today is that many of those students, I have seen it, ang dami na ngayong mga kabataan na kung may kaya ang kanilang mga magulang, they go abroad and study. What does that indicate? The superiority of the educational system in other countries. And to be, whether you like it or not, the closure of the foreign investment in the area of education is one of the factors that has caused this phenomenon in our educational system. Can you imagine, Patrick, how many our 10-year-old kids cannot even read and write? Isn't this something that our leaders should worry about? We will have a nation na mga mangmang. Malnutrition. You have millions of Filipino children aged from 0 to 59 months old. They are malnourished, and if you cannot arrest malnourishment after 2 years from birth, then the damage becomes permanent. So all of these factors, in my mind, are not given the proper attention, and unfortunately, this debate on the Constitution, or whether or not one is taking cocaine and fentanyl, diverts the attention of our people.
Okay. Thank you very much, former Senator Franklin Drilon. Thank you for your time, Senator.
Maraming salamat, sir.
Nice always to chat with you.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for having me on your program.
Thank you, sir. You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a quick break. We will be back in a bit.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group. The stories that are the headlines and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Patrick Paez with Mr. Ed Lingao.
Hello.
Now on the line is ACT ACT-CIS Party List Representative Erwin Tulfo. Idol.
Sir Patrick, good
Yun.
afternoon po. And Sir Ed, good afternoon. I'm sorry for yung invitations you a couple of weeks ago. I keep on turning it down because I was out of town. I'm very, very sorry.
Hindi, basta andito na ngayon. Okay na yun.
Basta humabol ka,
Opo.
Erwin.
Opo,
Maraming salamat.
Naka-focus lang po kami, Sir Ed. May focus lang po kami. Lumabas lang po ako para sagutin po yung mga katanungan po ninyo.
Mukhang, Erwin, mukhang importante yung caucus niyo. Ano yan, House caucus ba yan or party caucus?
House caucus lang naman po.
Naku.
Kung ano po nangyayari para ma-inform po mga kasamahan natin sa Congress what's going on kasi nagtatanong din po sila.
So ano ng posisyon ng House of Representatives yan, ng liderato ng Kamara, Erwin, tungkol dito sa People's Initiative?
Sir Ed, actually, we will just abide kasi di ba nagpalabas na ang COMELEC ng decision na suspend muna itong mga deliberations, counting, etc. ng mga sinadmit na mga votes or documents sa kanila. So we will abide by that. And at the same time, we will just abide by yung wishes ng Congress na to go with the charter change. So everything, pati nga yung instruction sa akin ni Speaker this morning, pag natanong daw ako, dahil nabasa rin natin na mukhang may plano ang Senate na mag-file ng case sa Supreme Court versus People Initiative, we will also abide, Sir Patrick, para everybody can move forward. Let's leave it behind. We're ready to work with the Senate and then everybody can move forward and do their jobs.
Okay, what broke this deadlock, Erwin? Yung utos, may kinalaman ba ito sa utos ng Presidente?
Well, I'm not so sure, Sir Ed, pero ang gusto rin kasi ng Presidente, what I heard dito sa mga party leaders, mukhang may instruction ng Presidente na let's just work na lang, we keep on moving forward because this is kind of dividing the nation right now. So, I believe the Speaker sumang-ayon naman doon, Sir Ed, Sir Patrick. So, ito ngayon ang ikakascade ngayon dito sa mga members na we will just abide by the decision of COMELEC, of the court, if there will be cases filed or TRO, and also by Senate. May lumabas din kasi na kalalabas-labas na yata, correct me if I'm wrong, Sir Ed, Sir Patrick, ang Senate issued a statement that they will not comment anymore on the PI, on the People's Initiative. So, our stand will also be the same, Sir Patrick.
Ceasefire, bale, no? May ceasefire yun.
Exactly, sir. Parang doon papunta ho yun kasi parang marang naguguluhan na yung mga kababayan natin. Hindi na, wala na nagagawa ang both houses. So, we prefer na we will just abide to the decision ng COMELEC, ng charter change ng Senate. So, we will just do that and then we will continue our work.
Kong, nabanggit ko kasi kanina na, the decision also is to abide by yung napagkasunduan with the Senate to go with Chacha. I suppose ito yung resolution number 6 na sinampa ni Senate President Zubiri. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Pero po, if I recall correctly nga, ang sa resolution number 6, tatlo lamang yung pupunta rin doon na economic provisions, hindi kasama doon yung liberalizing yung land ownership for foreigners. Okay lang ba yung Kongreso doon na hindi gagalawin yung land ownership issue? Kasi kung tanda ko, parang gagalawin lang yung foreign ownership sa advertising, sa media, and one more. Hindi ko lang alam kung happy kayo doon o medyo nabitin kayo doon.
Well, actually, Sir Ed, I believe parang ang narinig ko dito sa House leadership, pag-uusapan pa yan, and then there will be a communication with the Senate pertaining to that issue kung papayag ba o hindi. I'm not really privy to that, Sir Ed. So, I guess pag-uusapan yan ng mga leaders ni Speaker Romualdez at saka ni Senator Vic Zubiri.
So, hindi pa decided yun, kumbaga, yung mga detaleng yun. Pero as a matter of principle, tama ba? As a matter of principle, tama ba na sang-ayon kayo doon sa we go with CONAS with the Senate?
Yes, Sir Ed. Yun ang messaging ngayon ni Speaker sa atin. Yun ang binigyan na instruction as the communications head na we will just abide yung sa decision ng COMELEC and then itong gusto ng Senate na charter change their way and then kung magpa-file pa si Senator Zubiri ng case before the Supreme Court, then we will wait for the decision of the Supreme Court. Kasi nga ang gusto rin ng Speaker na matapos na ito lahat, Sir Ed, at everybody can move forward, can do their job. Kasi parang nauubos yung oras. We're wasting time. I mean, alas sa buwan na pinag-uusapan ito, wala nang gumagalaw, kundi exchange of words na lang and may bickering and fighting. So, hindi na rin maganda tignan sa tao.
Hindi pa nagsisimula yung CONAS. Awayan na, bangayan na. Kong, anyway, may nakikita ba kayong mga timetable kung kailan mabubuo itong sana mabuo itong Constituent Assembly with the senators?
Nasa ang bola, Sir Ed, nasa Senate na Ayaw na namin mag-comment dyan. So nasa kanila na yon, their decision. Niiwasan na lang talaga natin na magkaroon ng bangayan at nakakahiya nga, like the speaker said, let us just all work, yung mga taong bayan na pinapanood tayo. So we will just do that. We will just keep on working and we will leave it to the hands of the Senate.
Okay. Yeah, but ideally, Kong, is it ideal from the perspective of the House of Representatives na mangyari tong Constituent Assembly bago mag-midterm elections sa Mayo 2025? May ganun bang timetable?
Wala akong naririnig, Sir Ed. Kaya nga medyo nagulat ako na may sinasabi dati earlier na kailangan bago magsona ang Pangulo, itong People's Initiative, etc. Wala namang napag-usapan na gano'n, Sir Ed. So, I guess, sa Senate, ninyo siguro kailangan tanungin yan kung may timetable sila, kung kailan nila matatapos.
Basta kayo, wala kayong timetable, Kong.
Wala tayong timetable. At saka, pag-uusap lang dito sa caucus din, dahil pag-uusapan what's happening, may mga ilang congressman na pakiusap sa mga kasamahan natin sa Senate. Baka okay na, ceasefire na rin muna, huwag na munang tirahin, idiin ang Kongreso. Kasi pareho naman silang magkakasama, pareho naman kami doing our job as lawmakers.
Kong, balita galing sa aming Senate reporter na magtutuloy daw yung hearing ni Senator Amy Marcos sa Davao City nitong Biyernes.
Wala naman kaming problema doon, Sir Ed and Sir Patrick. I mean, kung anong gusto nila. Pero yun nga lang, kailangan siguro ay tignan nila muna na mabuti kung nasusunod ka talaga mga rules kasi may mga rules yata yan. I'm not very familiar. I'm sorry, Sir Patrick, Sir Ed, because I'm a new legislator. Pero as far as I know, may mga rules na sinusundan yan
Kong, may pahabol lang ako isa. Medyo procedural lang, pero fundamental yung procedure kasi kung matuloy man ang resolution number 6 through both chambers at gagawa nga ng Constituent Assembly, sa huli, magiging tanong pa rin, paano yung botohan ng Constituent Assembly? Doon din mauwi yan
yan,
paano yung botohan?
Kailangan i-trash out pa rin na pag-uusapan niya ngayon dito sa caucus, lumabas lang nga tayo, pag-uusapan din daw yan. As far as the House leadership is concerned, they will, both leaders will talk about it. Paano gagawin natin? What will we do about this?
Pero wala pang posisyon ang Kongreso. I know po, sabi ninyo, pag-uusapan yung dalawang chamber, ng dalawang chamber leaders, pero as far as your chamber is concerned, as far as the leadership of the House is concerned, wala pa hong namumuong posisyon dun sa paano yung botohan ng CONAS na 3/4? Ito ba'y magkahiwalay yung kasama?
We will wait, Sir Ed. We will wait kung ano po. And I'm sure they will transmit us. They will also communicate with us. We're hoping that they will communicate with us. Kasi hahayaan na namin ang bola na sa kamay na nila, Sir Ed. So we will just wait for their whatever their decision. Para to avoid lang, Sir Ed, itong away na sinasabing crisis, nakakahiya din sa taong bayan. Tama din si Speaker na nakakahiya na sa taong bayan. We owe them a lot. So let's all do our job. Let's go back to work.
Okay. Kung itong mga pirma na na-submit na sa COMELEC, sa mga local offices ng COMELEC, will they remain with the local offices o babawiin to? May mga ganung usapan ba?
Nasa decision na po ng COMELEC yan, Sir Patrick, Sir Ed. So I really do not know what's going to happen. Kung kung ibabalik ba ng COMELEC, siguro it should be the COMELEC that we have to ask, sir.
Okay. Sige.
Congressman Erwin Tulfo ng AXIS Party List, maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat.
Kong.
Sir, maraming salamat. You can call anytime. Baka sabihin nyo, ini-snub ko kayo. Hindi po. I was just out of town po.
Yes,
Pero
yes.
I'm always willing and ready to my time with TV5, sir.
Thank you.
That was
Congressman.
dating kasamahan natin.
Erwin Tulfo.
Yes, si Erwin. Oo, dati pong newscaster ng
Ngayon nata siya namamahala
kabilang
ng
studio.
communications.
News 5, yes. Oo.
Okay, so yun.
Do we have time to bring in our story editor, Joey Francisco? I think we have a few minutes left. 5 minutes left.
A few minutes.
Yan.
A few minutes.
Okay.
Dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi ni Congressman Erwin Tulfo before niyo siya nakausap kasi naglabas na si Speaker ng statement commending yung declaration ng House ng Senate leadership or specifically Senate President Big Subiri that they will be starting yung discussion ng RHB number 6 o yung charter change sila for economic provisions next week. So kinokomment niya yun. So parang in line with what Congressman Erwin declared na kaya sila nagko-caucus ngayon para may tact kung papaano sila makipag-cooperate doon sa gagawin ng upper chamber. Pero even before all that declaration, meron ng interview kay Congressman Joey Salceda sa forum kanina at sinasabi niya doon na kung sakaling magtutuloy-tuloy sa Senado tapos ito ay talagang ma-discuss na mabuti yung economic provisions na yon, they will concur as a body. Sabihin wala na silang angal, agad daw silang pipirma. Pero si Joey Salcedo nagsasabi nun, hindi naman yung House leadership, meaning Speaker Romualdez pa. Pero yun na daw kasi yung matagal na nilang hinihintay na gumalaw at least yung mga provision na yun na gustong baguhin. Tapos sila yung magko-concur na lamang. Parang gusto ko nga sabihin ko ano yung sinabi ni Joey Salceda, pero sabi, tigil daw muna sa bangayan, di ba, Patrick
ceasefire.
and Ed? Pero sinabi niya,
Ceasefire muna daw.
kasi kaya kami medyo daw, sabi ni Joey, dahil daw, parang noon na parang nagbumukhang sementeryo daw ng any move to amend yung ilang provision yung Senate o yung Senado. Pero I think after that mukhang yan ay maging huling banat dahil ang instruction nga doon sa lower house ay maging tactful na sila sa pagsasalita. May tact yung kanilang mga sasabihin after this caucus.
So ginamit niyo yung mga salita na yun, Joey, mukhang sementeryo?
Mukhang sementeryo ng any move to change some portions of the Constitution.
Konteksto lang po. I think what he meant was that it dies there. It dies there.
Pero kasi it dies there kasi nga talagang nakailang attempt na daw. So, parang totoo naman yun. Pero kasi nga, various reasons, di ba, in the past, it's really about time. Matatapos na yung Kongreso o magkakaroon ng boto. Kasi hindi na talaga, kaya nga ngayon, maaga nilang pinupush.
Dahil alam
year
nila 1 pa lang, Jovi.
Ang nagiging problema ay oras.
Let's remember, year 1 pa lang. Just a few months into the administration, there was already talk about charter change. I mean, sabi nila masyado maaga, but then again, it might not be. I mean, for those who want this to happen, they need to start early and as far away as possible from elections.
But they will have to resolve yung issue sa RHB number 6 kung magkokona sila, paano nga yung botohan?
Tama ka rin naman doon sa tanong mo kay Erwin na yung kanina, Ed. Pero hindi pa yung nasasagot. At mukhang re-rendahan based doon sa doon sa mga reporters from HOR, sinasabi nila na yun nga yung caucus kayo ni Silly about how to handle giving sound bites on charter change.
Jovi, para sa mga medyo umay na dito sa balitang People's Initiative at Charter Change, meron pa bang ibang balita naman dyan?
Ibang balita, well, at least baka nasa kausap nila si Mean kanina tungkol sa mga senators naman reacting to the the cessation or separation of Mindanao. So, I was speaking of the Constitution, sinasabi ng mga senador na walang nakalagay na anything sa ating present Constitution na that will allow a separation of any of our area or province or region. Meron autonomy daw.
Autonomy for Cordilleras and I think Muslim Mindanao.
So parang nagkakaisa naman sila doon at sinasabi nga ni Senate President Subiri sa isang statement na nilabas niya about that, siya'y taga Mindanao at ayaw niya makita at nakakalungkot yon if ever magtuloy-tuloy. So yun, ano pa ba? Kung hindi yung mga nakakaumay na ito, of course, yung MMDA ay merong interview kanina at sinasabi nila sa isang radio station at sinasabi nila na wag nang buhayin yung mga push for traffic czar or yung mga ganong mga old kind of solution to traffic. Pero wala naman din nasabi na immediate silang pwedeng gawing solusyon.
Jovi, naispatan sila Catherine Bernardo at saka si Jericho Rosales na nagja-jogging. Iniintriga tuloy. I'm just curious, Jovi, what do you call their ship name? Yan.
Echo. Ano pa ba? Echo and Catherine. Paano
ano
nga
nga
ba?
yun?
Parang ang
Kateko,
hirap.
parang katingko.
Pero ka ba naiisip?
Kateko.
Kateko, parang katingko.
oo.
Pwede.
Ay, hindi.
Pero baka naman nagja-jogging lang talaga.
Ay, malamang nga, nagja-jogging lang talaga. But, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Bakit ikaw ba
it's,
mag-jogging ka basta ba? Ano eh, sige.
well,
Oo
you know,
naman.
not go
Kung
there.
gusto ko matanggal ang tiyan ko, magja-jogging
di
ako.
ba, timing lang na pareho silang bagong hiwalay. Right?
Yes.
Kung
Anyway.
magkapit-bahay naman talaga sila, baka nagkataon lang.
Eh kung hindi.
Correct.
Kung hindi, talagang bumisita pa't dumalo.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, maraming salamat.
Tinututugan na tayo.
Vidal
See you
Francisco.
tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Patrick and Ed.
Maraming salamat. Our story editor, Jovi
Jovi
Francisco.
And those are the stories that are the headlines, the stories behind the headlines. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Patrick Paez. Join the story conference again tomorrow at 4 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.